The sky over the water is orange, not from a sunset, from fire. Smoke rolls across the domes of a city that has stood for over 1,000 years. Soldiers who swore an oath to a Christian king are breaking into the holiest churches of a Christian empire, dragging out gold and silver, melting down bronze statues, burning a library that took 3 centuries to fill. This is not the first time this city has died. It will not be the last. How does a city survive its own death again and again and still come back? This is Istanbul. Before that, Constantinople. Before that, Byzantium. 3 names, 1 place, sitting on the only strip of land on Earth where 2 continents almost touch. Every empire that ever wanted to control trade between Europe and Asia has needed this city. Persians, Arabs, Crusaders, Ottomans, each one arrived believing they were making history. Most of them were right, just not in the way they expected. 7 times this city was effectively destroyed. 7 times someone rebuilt it into something the previous version could never have imagined. Around 660 BCE, Greek settlers led by a man named Byzas found this peninsula, a deep natural harbor guarded on 3 sides by water, commanding the only channel connecting the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. Whoever held it controlled every ship that passed between 2 seas. He built his city here and called it Byzantium. It took 700 more years to become an empire. In 324 CE, a Roman emperor named Constantine saw the same advantage at imperial scale. Rome was dying, too far from its own frontiers to survive much longer. He built a new capital here and named it after himself, Constantinople, and poured the wealth of Rome into it. Its walls, 3 layers deep, with a moat in front, would not be broken by force for 1,000 years. Inside them rose the Hagia Sophia, a dome so vast that witnesses said it looked suspended from heaven by a golden chain. At its peak, 500,000 people lived here, while London and Paris were still overgrown villages. This was the new Rome. It believed it would last forever. Nothing here ever does, not permanently. In 1204, the danger didn't come from an enemy empire. It came from allies. The armies of the Fourth Crusade had set out for Jerusalem. They never arrived. Diverted by debt and a deposed prince's promise of gold, they turned their ships toward Constantinople instead. What followed was one of history's greatest betrayals. Christian soldiers wearing the cross sacked the greatest Christian city on earth, looting churches, melting down bronze for its metal, shipping treasures home that still sit in European cathedrals today, including 4 bronze horses now standing atop St. Mark's Basilica in Venice, stolen straight from this city's stadium. For 57 years, the city wasn't even ruled by its own people. When Byzantine forces finally retook it in 1261, something had changed. It came back poorer, smaller, a shadow rebuilding itself from memory rather than power. It would never fully recover as an empire, but the city itself endured. Empires can die. This place, it seemed, could only be wounded. By 1453, the empire was barely an empire at all, just the city itself, surrounded by a rising power, the Ottoman Turks. Sultan Mehmed II was 21 years old, and he wanted this city more than anything else in the world. The 1,000-year-old walls had never been broken by force, so Mehmed brought something they'd never faced. A cannon so massive it took 60 oxen to move, hurling stones that could crack a millennium of stone. For 53 days, the bombardment never stopped. Inside, the last Byzantine emperor walked the ramparts at night with 7,000 men, defending a city built for 500,000 against an army of 80,000. On the night of May 28th, church bells rang, not in celebration, but in final prayer. The next morning, the walls fell. The last Roman emperor threw off his regalia and vanished into the fighting. His body was never found. But Mehmed rode in as a builder, not just a destroyer. He converted the Hagia Sophia into a mosque instead of tearing it down, preserving it for the next 5 centuries. He resettled the city with people from across his empire, rebuilding its markets, its population, its purpose. The city died as the capital of Rome. It was reborn almost immediately as the capital of the Ottoman Empire. Its new name, used more and more in the centuries that followed, Istanbul. Istanbul today holds more than 15 million people, spilling across 2 continents. The Hagia Sophia still stands, church, then mosque, then museum, and mosque again in 2020. Sections of the old thousand-year walls still rise from city neighborhoods. Apartment buildings built almost against their stones. It isn't the capital anymore, but it remains the strait the world still depends on. In 2022, when war broke out in Ukraine, it was Istanbul where diplomats gathered to negotiate the grain corridor that kept famine at bay. 3,000 years after Byzantium chose this harbor, the reason people still fight over this water hasn't changed at all. Civilizations end. Rome fell. Byzantium fell. The Ottoman Empire, too, eventually dissolved. But this city never really did. Cities complicate the story empires like to tell about themselves. They outlive their builders. They absorb their conquerors instead of simply falling to them. They shrug off fire and betrayal, and somehow every time someone picks up the stones and starts again. Maybe a city was never really about the walls or the flag over the palace. It was always about the water, the trade, the people who keep choosing, generation after generation, to rebuild rather than abandon it. Empires are ideas, and ideas can die. Places endure,